The human colony of Arden rested under a calm sky filled with twin moons and a soft ring of dust shining above the horizon. The air was quiet, the people peaceful, and the war nothing more than an old story told by veterans. For most, the Galactic's wars were ancient tales, full of heroes and impossible machines. Only a few still remembered the truth. One of them was Commander Rian, an old soldier who had fought in the last battles against the Velkar Dominion. Rian lived on the edge of the colony, in a small home filled with relics of forgotten wars. He spent his evenings repairing old helmets and datapads, sometimes staring at a faded hologram of his former comrades. Among them stood a tall alien woman with silver eyes and armor that gleamed like starlight. Her name was Princess Elara Vera. She had fought beside the humans when the Dominion tried to crush every free world in the galaxy. When her planet vanished in the final battle, everyone believed her people were gone forever. Now the galaxy was quiet. The Dominion was defeated, or so the humans thought. The colonies were busy rebuilding, and the great fleets of Earth had been retired. Children learned about peace and progress, not war and loss. Yet Rian still looked up at the stars each night, waiting for something he could not name. He had promised Elara long ago that if she ever returned, humanity would be there for her. It was a promise he thought he would never have to keep. That night, while he was walking near the colony's landing field, he noticed a strange glow in the upper sky. At first it looked like a meteor burning in the atmosphere, but it did not fall straight. It twisted, spiraled, and tried to correct its path. Rian's old instincts came alive. He ran to the communications center and shouted for the watch team to scan the skies. The radar soon picked up a single ship, ancient in design, moving fast and out of control. "Identify the craft," Rian ordered. "It's not one of ours," the operator replied. "No human code, no known registration. It's alien, very old." Rian felt his chest tighten. "Track its descent. Prepare a rescue team." The ship came down in the eastern hills beyond the colony. The crash shook the ground and sent a wave of dust across the nearby plains. Fire lit the night for a brief moment, then faded into darkness. Rian and his team raced toward the impact site in armored transports. When they arrived, the air was filled with smoke and the scent of burning metal. The ship was shaped like a curved blade, scorched and broken, but still mostly intact. Strange symbols glowed faintly on its hull. "Careful," Rian said as they approached. "Check for survivors." The rescue team cut through the side hatch with plasma tools. Inside, they found wreckage and torn cables hanging like vines. In the center of the cabin lay a single figure. The person was wearing cracked armor of a silvery hue, covered in strange blue markings. When Rian saw the figure's face, his breath stopped. It was her. Silver eyes, the same crest on the armor, the same calm expression even in pain. Princess Elara. For a moment, Rian could not move. The stories said she had died. The records said her world was gone. But here she was, alive. He knelt beside her and removed his helmet. "Elara, can you hear me?" Her eyes fluttered open. For a second, she seemed not to recognize him. Then her gaze softened. "Human," she whispered, her voice weak but clear. "You still live." "Yes," Rian said quietly. "And so do you." She tried to sit up, but her strength failed. Rian lifted her carefully and carried her out of the wreck. The team surrounded them, silent and wide-eyed. No one spoke until they reached the transport. One of the younger guards finally asked, "Who is she, Commander?" Rian looked at him. "An ally from a time you've only read about." They brought her to the colony's medical bay. The doctors ran scans and tried to understand her physiology. It was close to human, but not the same. Her pulse was slow, her cells resistant to infection, and her body carried traces of strange energy. The doctor told Rian that she had suffered radiation exposure and needed rest. She would recover, but slowly. When she woke again, Rian was sitting beside her. She studied his face for a long time, as if trying to connect past and present. "How long has it been?" "Almost 60 years, Rian said. "You disappeared at the Battle of Velis Prime. The wormhole collapsed. We thought you and your people were lost." Lar turned her head toward the window where she could see the blue skies of Arden. So much time, she whispered. It felt like days for me. I was trapped near the event horizon. Time was broken there. Rian nodded. We moved on, tried to rebuild. The galaxy has changed. She looked back at him, her silver eyes filled with sadness. Changed how? Do your people still hold the stars? Not like before, Rian replied. We no longer keep fleets in orbit. The colonies are independent now. Humans are tired of war. Alara's voice grew stronger. The Dominion still exists, Rian. They were never destroyed, only weakened. I saw their ships before I escaped. They are gathering strength beyond the edge of the spiral arm. Rian frowned. That is a heavy claim. The Council will not believe it without proof. Her expression darkened. You must make them believe. If the Dominion rises again, your worlds will fall first. Humanity was their greatest rival. Rian felt the weight of her words. He had known peace for many years, but deep inside, he always sensed it would not last. I will take this to the Council, he said. But tell me, how did you survive? Ilara took a deep breath. When Vera fell, I commanded our last fleet. We opened a wormhole to escape, but the Dominion followed. The collapse trapped us between time streams. Most of my ships were lost. I drifted there in silence for what felt like weeks. My crew faded one by one. Only I remained when the storm ended. Rian listened quietly. Her story felt impossible, yet the pain in her voice made it real. You came back, he said. That means something. She looked at him carefully. When I reached human space, I found no response to my calls. The relay stations were dead. The beacons were gone. I thought humanity had forsaken me. Rian lowered his head. We never meant to. We thought the alliance ended with the war. Her tone softened. You humans have short memories, but strong hearts. That is why I came, because I remember. Outside, the colony lights shimmered as the twin moons rose higher. The people of Arden talked about this strange visitor who had fallen from the sky. Some called her a myth come alive. Others feared she was a threat. The Human Council on the capital world demanded reports, asking Rian for proof of her identity. Many doubted that a Varen could still exist. Rian defended her, showed them the royal crest engraved on her armor and the old records of their alliance. But the council members argued that helping her might drag humanity back into interstellar conflict. They wanted peace to remain. Rian left the meeting frustrated but determined. He knew what he had seen. The Dominion's weapons had left marks on that ship. The threat was real. He returned to Alara's recovery chamber that night. She was standing, looking out the window at the stars. The light of the moons shone on her armor, now repaired with human tools. You went to them, she said without turning. Yes, Rian replied. They will not act. They say we must not involve ourselves in old wars. She faced him, her eyes filled with disappointment. Then humanity has truly changed. Rian sighed. Perhaps. Or perhaps they have only forgotten what it means to stand for something greater. For a moment, silence filled the room. Then Alara spoke softly. If they will not remember, I will remind them. The Dominion grows even now. The signs are clear. You can feel it, can't you? Nodded slowly. Yes, I can. She stepped closer. Then we must act. Even if it is only the two of us. Rian smiled faintly. It would not be the first time humans fought against impossible odds. Alara's lips curved into the smallest smile. No, it would not. Sighed. A soft wind moved across the plains. The stars above Arden seemed brighter, as if watching them. The past was not gone. It was waiting, alive in their memories. Rian knew that peace could not last forever. The galaxy had grown quiet, but the silence was only the breath before another storm. He turned to Alara. Rest tonight. Tomorrow, we start looking for proof. If the Dominion is out there, we will find them. She nodded. And when we do, I will ask them the same question I asked you, human. Have you forsaken me? And they will know the answer. Rian looked at her, understanding that this was only the beginning. The galaxy had forgotten the alliance between man and Varen, but he would not let that memory die. He watched as she closed her eyes for a moment, her silver armor gleaming under the soft light. Somewhere beyond the stars, old enemies were awakening. Humanity would need its courage again. The wind whispered through the night. The carrying a quiet promise between two old warriors. The promise that no matter how much time passed, humanity would rise again when the galaxy called. The next morning on Arden began with golden light spilling over the hills. Commander Rian stood outside the medical wing, watching the sun rise as workers moved through the colony streets. To most, it was another peaceful day. But for him, peace had already started to feel like a fragile illusion. He knew what Alara had said was true. The Dominion was patient. They had always been patient. If they were gathering strength again, humanity was in danger. Inside the medical bay, Alara was awake and standing. She wore a light exosuit made by the colony engineers to help her recover. The silver crest of her royal armor had been carefully attached to her chest plate. When Rian entered, she turned toward him with quiet strength in her gaze. Her recovery had been fast, almost unnatural. "You heal quickly," Rian said. "Our kind adapted for war," Alara replied. "Pain teaches endurance. Survival teaches speed. It seems the galaxy still demands both." Rian nodded. "You said you have proof of the Dominion's return. What did you see?" Alara's eyes darkened slightly. "Fragments of their fleets moving near the old border systems. I tracked one of their patrol ships before my vessel was pulled into the wormhole's edge. Their markings were new, their signals encrypted, but the symbol of the Dominion remained. They have rebuilt." Rian crossed his arms. "The Council wants clear evidence before they act. They think the Dominion is a myth meant to frighten colonies into unity." Lara's tone sharpened. "Then they have grown too comfortable. The Dominion thrives in comfort's shadow." Rian understood her frustration. Humanity had fought hard for peace, but in doing so, had forgotten how to defend it. "I will take you to the archives," he said. "There might be old records we can use to find your people's last known signals." Alara agreed. Together, they walked through the colony streets. People watched in silence as the alien princess passed by. Her silver eyes seemed to unsettle them, not from fear, but from wonder. Children whispered questions to their parents. Some bowed slightly without understanding why. Alara moved with calm grace. Orion could see that the attention made her uneasy. When they reached the central archive building, Rian used his command access to enter the restricted section. The air inside smelled of metal and dust. Ancient databanks hummed softly. These were the preserved records of humanity's wars and alliances. Untouched for decades, Alara ran her hand across one of the consoles. "I never thought I would see these again. When we stood together against the Dominion, I believed our unity would last forever." Rian gave a faint smile. "Nothing lasts forever. Not peace, not war. Only the memory of what we fought for." They activated the old files. Holograms flickered to life images of human and Varen fleets fighting side by side. Ilara's voice grew quiet as she watched them. "We fought for freedom. For life beyond fear." Rian pointed to a map. "Here, the last known coordinates of Vera's fleet before the wormhole collapsed. If any trace of your people survived, it would be somewhere near this region." Alara leaned closer. "That system. The Varen beacon. It was one of our signal relays. If it still exists, it might hold a record of Dominion movement." Rian hesitated. "That sector is beyond the current patrol range. The Council forbids travel there." "Then we go without their permission," Alara said calmly. "You and I," Rian met her gaze. "It will not be easy." "Nothing worth saving ever is," she replied. That night, they prepared quietly. Rian chose a small scout vessel from the colony hangar, old but reliable. He trusted only a few of his closest crew members to help without asking questions. The ship, named Ardent Flame, was built for long-range exploration. Alara inspected every system personally, adapting controls to suit both human and Varone operation. Before departure, one of Rian's junior officers, Mara, approached him. "Commander, are you really taking her beyond the frontier?" "The Council will court-martial you." Rian looked at her steadily. "If we are wrong, no one will remember. If we are right, everyone will need what we find." Mara nodded slowly. "Then I hope you return, sir. Both of you." When the ardent flame lifted off, the colony below grew small and silent. Stars filled the view. Ilara stood near the observation window, her hands resting behind her back. So much emptiness, she said softly. Yet humans fill it with hope. Rian smiled faintly. Hope is what keeps us from falling apart. They traveled for days through deep space. Ilara spent hours studying the navigation systems, adjusting for ancient coordinates that only she could recognize. Sometimes she would stare into the dark, her expression distant. Rian could tell she was remembering her lost people. He respected her silence. On the fourth day, the scanners picked up something unusual, a faint energy signal ahead. Rian adjusted the ship's path. It matches the old Varen frequency, he said. Ilara's eyes brightened. Then the beacon still lives. When they arrived, the sight before them was haunting. The beacon floated near a dead star, its once golden surface now covered in ice and debris. It looked like a ruined tower drifting in darkness. Rian brought the ship closer, activating external lights. The structure responded with a flicker of blue light, as if waking from a long sleep. Ilara placed her hand over the control console. Permission request, she said softly in her language. The console beeped, recognizing her voice pattern. The outer doors of the beacon slowly opened, revealing a silent interior lined with broken panels. They entered carefully. The air inside was thin, but breathable. Rian carried a light scanner while Ilara moved toward the central core. The walls were marked with old battle damage. It was clear the beacon had not been alone in its final moments. This place once connected our fleets, Ilara said. Every distress call, every report passed through here. It was our link to hope. Rian looked around. Can it still function? She began working on the controls. If the core memory survived, it can show us what happened. After several minutes, the main console lit up. Faint holograms appeared, recordings of ships fighting, of Varen voices shouting coordinates, and of one message repeated again and again. It was Ilara's own voice from decades ago, calling for help as her fleet vanished into the collapsing wormhole. The final log ended with static. Then a new image appeared. A Dominion battleship, larger than any Rian had ever seen. Its hull bore the old insignia, but the color was darker, almost alive with crimson lines. The recording showed the ship firing on the beacon before vanishing into hyperspace. Ilara's face hardened. They found us even here. Rian downloaded the data. This is the proof we need. The Dominion never died. They've been watching, waiting. Before they could leave, a low vibration shook the beacon. The scanners on Rian's wristpad flared red. Ship incoming, he said quickly. Unknown drive signature. Ilara's expression turned sharp. Dominion. Rian ran to the airlock. We have to go now. As they rushed through the corridor, the hull trembled again. Outside, a black cruiser emerged from hyperspace, its shape sleek and cold. It began charging weapons. Rian and Ilara barely made it back to the ardent flame before the beacon exploded behind them. The shockwave sent the ship spinning, but Rian's steady hands kept control. Ilara activated the defense grid. They must have been tracking the beacon's signal. They will not stop now. Rian set a course back to human space. Then we show the Council what they refuse to see. The Dominion ship pursued them across the dark sectors. Energy beams sliced through the void, passing close to their hull. Rian's crew worked frantically, rerouting power to the engines. Ilara operated the targeting systems, firing back with precise bursts. Each hit shook the Dominion cruiser, but it remained relentless. We cannot outgun them, Rian said through clenched teeth. Ilara studied the star chart. There is a nebula ahead. Its magnetic storms can hide us. The ardent flame plunged into the swirling clouds of blue and silver gas. Lightning danced across the hull, sensors flickering wildly. The Dominion ship lost visual contact. Rian powered down the engines, letting the nebula mask their trail. For several tense minutes, nothing moved. Then the scanners cleared. The enemy had withdrawn. Silence filled the cabin. Rian exhaled slowly. We made it, Ilara nodded. For now, they drifted quietly among the glowing clouds. Outside the window, streaks of light shimmered like living spirits. Rian looked at her and said, You were right. The Dominion is still out there. The council will have to listen now. Ilara's voice was soft but certain. They will not listen easily. Fear blinds the hearts of those who have never faced true darkness. But you have, Rian. That is why I trust you. Rian met her gaze. Then I'll make them see. Humanity may have forgotten the war, but they'll remember what it means to fight. She turned back toward the stars. Then our journey has just begun. As the ardent flame left the nebula and headed home, a faint signal echoed behind them from the remains of the beacon. It was a coded Verone message repeating a single line: the Dominion rises again. Ilara closed her eyes as she listened. She had carried that warning for decades, across time and silence. Now at last humanity would hear it. The stars ahead shone brighter as if lighting their path. Rian set his course with renewed purpose. The alliance once forgotten was stirring once more, and the galaxy, vast and ancient, began to awaken with it. The journey back from the nebula was long and silent. Commander Rian spent most of the time studying the recordings they had recovered from the Varen beacon. Every line of data confirmed the same truth. The Dominion had returned. Their fleets were moving again through the forgotten borders of the galaxy. They had rebuilt in secret while humanity looked away. Rian knew that if the Human Council refused to believe him now, it would mean disaster. Princess Ilara stood beside him in the command room, her eyes fixed on the holographic display. The red marks on the star map represented Dominion activity. They were small and scattered, but forming a clear pattern. They are testing your defenses, she said. They probe the empty systems first. When they find no response, they will move closer. That is how the Dominion grows. Rian nodded. Then we must stop them before they reach the colonies. He felt the weight of the galaxy on his shoulders. He had promised Ilara that humanity would not fail her again. Yet deep down he knew how the Council thought. They valued peace above all. They would never send ships based on old stories and rumors. Even solid proof would not be enough if fear of another war clouded their judgment. When the ardent flame finally reached the human frontier, a patrol squad intercepted them. Their ship identification codes were outdated, and the patrol commander demanded an explanation. Rian sent them the proof immediately. The patrol ships guided them back to the central station known as Bastion Gate, the gateway to human space. The moment they landed, the Council summoned Rian for questioning. Ilara wished to come too, but Rian advised her to stay hidden until he knew how the Council would react. She agreed, but warned him, if they ignore you, I will not remain silent. Inside the council hall, the air was tense. Holographic screens lined the walls, displaying charts and reports. The counselors, dressed in formal uniforms, sat in a semicircle. At the center was High Counselor Dinar, a man known for his careful caution. Commander Rian, Dinar began, you were ordered to remain within colonial space. You have disobeyed direct command and endangered our peace with unauthorized exploration. Rian stood straight. Sir, with respect, I found something that endangers much more than our peace. The Dominion has returned. I have the recordings to prove it. The council members exchanged uneasy looks. Dinar raised an eyebrow. You bring us stories from the past, Commander. The Dominion was destroyed a century ago. Rian activated his device. The hologram of the Dominion battleship appeared above the table, its dark shape spinning slowly. This is not a story. This is a new Dominion vessel attacking the Varen beacon. The recording is real, taken only days ago. The hall grew quiet. Some members leaned forward, whispering among themselves. Dinar studied the image but did not look convinced. Assuming your data is authentic, he said slowly, even if this ship exists, one battleship does not mean an empire reborn. Jan's voice hardened. You do not understand. The Dominion never dies in one ship. They grow from ashes. If we wait, they will spread again. And when they come, they will come for all of us. Dinar sighed. You speak with fear, Commander. Humanity cannot afford to chase old ghosts. We are still rebuilding from the last war. Rian clenched his fists. So you will wait until they strike first. Dinar did not answer. Instead, he motioned for security to escort Rian out. We will study your report. You are confined to quarters until the investigation concludes. Rian wanted to argue, but he knew it would make no difference. The guards led him away. Outside the hall, Ilara waited in the shadows. She saw his expression and understood without words. "They refused you," she said quietly. "They always refuse until it is too late," Rian replied. Ilara looked out the window toward the stars. "Then we must act without them. My people once believed humans would stand with us even when hope was lost. I wish to see that faith again." Rian hesitated. "There are still those who would follow me. Not many, but enough to make a difference." That night, Rian escaped the station with Ilara's help. They moved through dark corridors, avoiding patrol drones. Mara, the young officer who once warned him, met them near the hangar. "I knew you would not stay quiet," she whispered. "The council has ordered your suspension, but I locked the hangar codes for you. You'll need to hurry." Rian nodded gratefully. "You are brave, Mara." "I just remember the stories my grandfather told," she said. "Humans once stood beside the stars. Maybe it's time we remember that again." They boarded the Ardent Flame and left Bastion Gate in silence. Once they were clear of detection range, Ilara turned to Rian. "Where will we go now?" "There's one place left," Rian said. "An old Verone outpost in the Helios system. If your people survived anywhere, it will be there." Lara's voice carried quiet hope. "Then that is where we begin." The journey to Helios was dangerous. The system lay near a cluster of unstable stars that warped space travel. Navigation was difficult, and communications failed often. As they approached the system, the ship's sensors detected faint signals. Ilara recognized them instantly. "Those are Varen distress codes," she said. "Ancient, but still alive." They followed the signal to a small moon orbiting a dying red star. Hidden beneath its frozen surface was a base, camouflaged from scanners. The hangar doors opened automatically as if welcoming them home when the Ardent Flame landed. Rian and Ilara stepped out into a vast chamber. The walls were carved from black stone, lined with old machinery. At first, there was silence. Then figures appeared from the shadows. They were Varens, thin, pale, their once bright armor faded. Yet their eyes still carried light. One of them stepped forward, an older warrior with a long scar across his neck. He stared at Ilara in disbelief. "It cannot be," he said. "Princess Ilara of Vera, you were lost." "I was trapped," she said softly. "But I have returned, and I bring warning. The Dominion rises again." The survivors fell to one knee. Their leader introduced himself as Captain Dren, commander of the last Varen defense post. He guided them to the central hall, where flickering lights cast long shadows. There, they shared what little remained of their history. After the fall of Vera, Dren and a small group had escaped through a damaged warp gate. They had been hiding ever since, hoping for rescue that never came. "We thought humanity had forgotten us," Dren said. "When no ships came, we believed the Alliance was truly dead." Lara looked at Rian, then back at her people. "You were never forgotten. Humanity lost its way, but not its heart. I am here now, and so is their courage." Dren nodded. "If the Dominion returns, we will stand with you again. But we are few, and our ships are old." Rian leaned forward. "Then we make them count. I can call on old friends, veterans who still believe. Together we can strike a blow that will make the Dominion notice." They worked through the night repairing old Varen vessels. The air smelled of fuel and dust, but there was life again in the halls. Rian's crew joined hands with the Varens, exchanging ideas, fixing engines, and restoring weapons. It felt like history breathing again. Ilara watched them with quiet pride. "You see, Rian," she said, "even forgotten fires can burn once more." While repairs continued, the base sensors detected new movement in nearby space. Dren checked the readings. "Dominion scouts," he said grimly. "They are scanning the area." Rian made a quick decision. "Then we test our strength now. If we take one of their ships, we can prove to the Council that the war has already begun." Lara agreed. "We strike fast and vanish before they call reinforcements." They launched 3 ships, the Ardent Flame and 2 Varan interceptors. The Dominion scout ships were sleek and dark, moving in perfect formation. Rian led the charge, diving straight into their path. Lasers streaked across the void. One Dominion craft exploded instantly. The others tried to retreat, but Alara's precision fire crippled their engines. Within minutes, the small battle was over. They captured one Dominion vessel intact. Its systems were complex and alien, but Ilara's people managed to decode part of its data. What they found chilled everyone. The Dominion has gathered fleets in the Outer Rim, Dren said. They are preparing for invasion. Anne stared at the projection. Then we cannot wait for permission. We need to show this to the colonies ourselves. Ilara stood beside him. We will not ask them to fight for us. We will remind them why they once did. The humans and Varens looked at one another. They were few, tired, and outnumbered. But their spirits were rising. In that forgotten outpost, the first spark of unity was born again. Outside, the red star glowed faintly through the ice. Rian turned toward it and said quietly, "The galaxy thinks humans have turned soft. Let them come and see how wrong they are." Lara smiled. They will see soon enough. The Dominion will learn that humanity may rest, but it never surrenders. And so the Alliance was reborn. One small fleet against an empire, yet it was enough to light the dark once more. The galaxy would soon remember what humans and their allies could become when they stood together. The Dominion ship appeared again, on the edge of the nebula. Its crimson light shimmered like the eyes of a predator searching through the storm. Rian stood at the command deck of the Ardent Flame, his hands tight on the controls. He knew they could not keep running forever. The ship's energy cells were draining, and repairs were long overdue. Ilara moved beside him, her eyes cold but focused. "They will find us soon," she said. "If we keep hiding, they will track our trail and follow it back to your colonies." It nodded. "Then we fight, but not here. We need a place where humans can see the truth with their own eyes." He pulled up the star map. "There is an abandoned mining world near the frontier Tarn. It used to have defense systems before the war. If we can reactivate them, we can make our stand there," Lara agreed. "Then we bring the fire to them before they bring it to you." The ardent flame jumped out of the nebula, streaking across space until the barren planet Terran filled their view. Once a mining colony, it now lay silent. Broken towers and cratered fields stretched across its surface. The old human banners still stood, tattered but proud. They landed near a ruined control station. The air was thin but breathable. Rian and his small crew stepped out with Ilara, each person moving carefully through the wreckage. The air smelled of rust and dust. "This place feels like a graveyard," said Mara, Rian's junior officer. Ilara studied the horizon. Graveyards can still become battlefields. Inside the control station, Rian and Ilara found the remains of the old defense grid. It was ancient but functional. Together, they worked to restore power. Ilara's knowledge of energy harmonics and Rian's understanding of human systems made the task faster. The hum of power returning filled the air, lights flickering to life across the outpost. When the radar came online, Mara gasped. "Commander, multiple signals incoming. Dominion ships, 3 destroyers, and 1 command vessel." Rian looked at Ilara. "So they followed us." Ilara's gaze hardened. "Then they will regret it." They hurried to prepare. Rian ordered the crew to set up autocannons on the ridgelines while Ilara configured the planetary shields. The defense systems roared back to life, ancient but loyal. As the Dominion fleet entered orbit, their dark holes glowed red against the planet's sky. The first strike came from above, energy bolts raining down like falling stars. The ground shook. The defense grid held, but barely. Rian stood on the command platform. "Target their lead destroyer. Open fire." The surface cannons thundered, streaks of light rising from the ground to strike the enemy ships. One Dominion vessel exploded in a flash of white fire. The others moved to flank. Lair worked the main console, directing shield frequencies. They adapt quickly. Their armor resists direct energy. We must strike their engines. Rian adjusted the targeting coordinates. "Then let's remind them how humans fight." Mara coordinated the ground teams. "All units focus fire on rear thrusters. Give them no time to breathe." the sky turned into chaos. Human cannons and Dominion beams crossed paths, painting the air with light. Rian's crew fought with precision, every move counting. Ilara watched in silence for a moment, then spoke softly. Your people fight like fire. They burn brighter when the night grows darker. Rian smiled grimly. That's humanity. We don't give up, even when the odds break. A new alarm sounded. The Dominion command ship was preparing to deploy ground troops. Dropships fell from the sky, hitting the surface with heavy impacts. Dark armored soldiers began advancing across the wasteland. Rian called over the comms. Hold the line. Every inch of ground counts. He and Ilara led the front defense together. Plasma bolts lit the field. Dust and smoke filled the air. Rian moved through the fire, shouting orders, helping wounded soldiers. Ilara fought beside him with a borrowed rifle and Veron precision. Her aim was flawless, her movements calm. A blast tore open part of the defense wall. Dominion troops surged through. Rian was thrown to the ground, but rolled to his feet. He saw Ilara standing on the ridge, rallying the defenders. Her voice carried through the chaos. Stand and fight. You are human. You are not defeated. Her words cut through fear. The human soldiers rose again, pushing forward with renewed strength. They fought with courage that the Dominion could not understand. Rian regrouped his units near the energy core. He activated his comms. Ilara, the command ship, is focusing on our core. If it falls, the grid dies. Ilara answered. Then we strike them first. I have an idea. She rushed to the control deck. The mining tunnels beneath us still exist. If we overload the old fuel lines, we can use the tunnels as a weapon. When the Dominion moves closer, the blast will hit them from below. Rian looked at her. That will destroy the whole facility. She met his eyes steadily. Then it will be a victory worth the cost. They worked quickly, rerouting the fuel lines and setting charges along the tunnels. Outside, the Dominion command ship descended. Lowering its massive cannons toward the surface, Rian gave the order to evacuate the lower sectors. Everyone to the outer ridges. Now, when the enemy ship drew near, Ilara stood at the detonator. The Dominion commander's voice echoed through open channels. Surrender. Humanity is a broken race. Your time is over, Rian replied through the static. Then come and prove it. The Dominion ship descended further, unaware of what waited below. Ilara pressed the trigger. The ground erupted in light. Flames and molten rock burst through the tunnels, rising like a storm. The explosion struck the Dominion ship's underside, tearing it apart. The blast wave rolled across the desert, scattering enemy troops and debris. When the dust settled, the command ship was gone. Only fragments burned in the distance. Silence fell over the battlefield. Human soldiers stared at the sky in disbelief, then began to cheer. The echoes of their voices carried through the empty world. Rian looked at Ilara. You just destroyed a Dominion fleet with an old mining planet. Alara's expression softened. You gave me the tools. I gave you the spark. Ilara approached, wiping soot from her face. Commander, the Council is receiving the transmission. They saw everything. They know now. Rian nodded. Then humanity will remember what it means to stand together. Ilara gazed at the burning horizon. This is only the beginning. The Dominion will not stop because of one battle. Rian placed his hand on her shoulder. Then they'll learn again why humans never surrender. That night, under the ruined towers of Terran 4, the survivors built fires from broken machinery. They shared what little food remained and watched the stars. The human fleet would arrive soon, drawn by the signals of their victory. Ilara sat beside Rian, silent for a long moment. You risked everything for a world that was not yours, she said. Rian smiled faintly. We fought for the same reason we always have. Because someone had to. Ilara looked at him. Then perhaps the galaxy still has hope. Above them, the stars shimmered like distant beacons. The firelight reflected in her silver eyes as she whispered, Your people burn brighter than any sun. The Dominion will learn that again. Rian looked toward the dark horizon. And this time, we'll make sure they never forget. The wind moved softly through the ruins. The humans and Varens stood together once more, their spirits united. Across the galaxy, the echoes of the battle on Terran 4 spread like a spark, igniting new courage. Humanity was awake again, and the stars would soon know it. The dawn over Terran 4 was quiet, almost serene, but Commander Rian knew the calm would not last. The Dominion had retreated for now, but they were regrouping somewhere beyond the fringe. The human fleet was beginning to arrive, responding to the transmissions of the battle. Ships of every size and design entered orbit, their lights blinking like stars of a second galaxy. Princess Alara stood on the ridge, watching the incoming vessels. Her silver eyes reflected the rising sun. "They came," she said softly. "Your people have remembered." Rian approached, his armor scorched and dust-covered from the battle. "It was not just me. They saw what we did. They saw that humanity can rise again, even after years of peace." Alara nodded. "Then the promise is renewed. We fight together, not just for survival, but for trust." The human fleet docked and sent teams to help repair the Varen ships and the ruined outpost. Engineers and soldiers moved alongside Varans, exchanging knowledge, repairing weapons, and fortifying defenses. Mara ran from group to group, coordinating efforts, her face lit with determination. Rian walked among the crews, greeting old comrades and encouraging the young. "We survived the past," he told them. "Now we prepare for the future. Remember how we fought before? And remember why we never gave up?" Alara moved with purpose among the Varens and humans alike. She spoke quietly to Dren and his surviving warriors. Human courage and Varen skill together can face any threat. The Dominion does not know the strength of an alliance renewed. Weeks passed. The outpost became a hub of activity. The humans and Varens trained together, sharing tactics, piloting each other's ships, and testing new strategies. Patrols were sent into neighboring systems to gather intelligence. Every report of Dominion movement was analyzed. Each victory, no matter how small, strengthened the bond between the species. One evening, as the twin moons rose over Terran 4, Rian and Alara stood atop a ridge watching the fleets move. Alara spoke softly. "I once thought humanity had forsaken me. Your people turned inward, silent and afraid. But now, I see your heart again." Rian looked at her. "We never truly forget those who fight beside us. You were lost, yes, but the memory of what we shared remained. That is why I fought to bring you back, and why we fight still." Alara smiled faintly. "The Dominion will not forgive our defiance. They will return stronger." Rian's jaw tightened. "Then we will be ready. We will not wait for them to strike first." The following days were a blur of preparation. New ships were repaired and tested, old fleets were recommissioned, and the outpost became a center for training new pilots. Mara proved herself capable of commanding small squads. While Rian and Alara coordinated strategy, the Dominion did strike again. Their fleet appeared on the edge of the frontier, larger than before, dark and threatening. Their presence filled the sensors and shook the nerves of even the bravest. The human and Varone fleets formed a line in orbit above Terran 4, ready to face them. Ilara's voice echoed through the command deck. "This is it. Stand firm. Fight as humans and Virons together. Show them what we are." Rian's hand rested on the controls. "We will." This time, they will see everything. The battle began with a flash of energy across the void. Dominion ships advanced in formation, their weapons firing in precise patterns. But the humans and Varens responded with equal skill and bravery. Missiles and laser bursts tore through space. The dark hulls of the Dominion vessels caught fire under coordinated strikes. Alara commanded from the bridge. Her voice calm and exact. "Flank the central cruiser. Draw its fire away from the fleet. We cannot let it reach Terran," for Rian coordinated the fighters. "All interceptors engage with precision. Protect the heavy ships and disable their engines." The sky erupted with color and movement. Ships twisted and dodged, weaving in and out of fire. On the planet's surface, automated defenses engaged remaining Dominion vessels that tried to descend. Humans and Varens moved together like a single organism, understanding the other's tactics without hesitation. Rian noticed one Dominion ship trying to escape the battle zone. Ilara, we cannot let it warn their fleets. She studied the tactical display. I will intercept it myself. With a small squad of fighters, Ilara and Rion led a pursuit. The Dominion ship fired desperately, but their coordinated maneuvers kept them safe. Rion saw the fear in the enemy pilot's eyes, something he had not seen in years. The Dominion knew now that humans could fight as fiercely as they once had. Ilara fired with precision, disabling the ship's engines. It drifted helplessly in space. Rion moved to secure it. This will be proof for the colonies, he said. No one can deny what we have done. Back at Terran 4, the main fleet celebrated small victories, but Rian and Ilara knew the war was far from over. Yet the human and Viran cooperation had sent a clear message. Humanity would not wait to be destroyed. They would fight, and they would survive. When the battle ended, the survivors gathered on the surface. Fires from the wrecked Dominion ships burned in the distance, casting long shadows over the landscape. Dren approached Ilara. You have led us well. Your courage and leadership remind us why we fight. Ilara turned to him. We fight together, not as Varans or humans, but as allies. That is our strength. Rion joined them, looking at the assembled crews. The Dominion will return, but they will not break us. Humanity may have rested, but we never surrendered. We fight because we must, and because we can. Mara stood beside him, smiling, and they will remember us. They will see that humans are not weak, that we rise even when the galaxy thinks we cannot. Ilara looked at Rion, her silver eyes softening. You kept your promise. You did not forsake me. And now, your people remember the courage they once had. Yin smiled. It was never about me. It was about all of us. Humanity and its allies have always risen when needed. The sun set behind the mountains, painting the sky in gold and purple. The outpost was alive with activity, repairs underway, and preparations for the next battle in progress. Ships and crews moved like a well-oiled machine, ready to face whatever the Dominion would bring next. Ilara placed a hand on Rian's shoulder. The galaxy will test you again. But now, humans and Varans are ready. Rian nodded. Then let them come. We will meet them together. As the night fell, the twin moons rose over Terran 4. Stars glittered across the dark sky, reflecting in the eyes of humans and Varans alike. Across the galaxy, the Dominion would learn a truth they had forgotten. Humanity, united with its allies, could not be destroyed. Courage, honor, and determination burned brighter than any weapon. The spirit of the Alliance would shine across the stars forever. Ilara looked up at the heavens. No, they will never forget, and neither will I. Rion watched the fleets below, feeling hope swell in his chest. Then the galaxy will see what humanity truly is. Strong, relentless, and never forsaking those who fight for justice. Together, they stood, silent for a moment. Yes. Listening to the hum of the repaired outpost and the distant echo of ships in orbit. In that moment, a promise was renewed. Humanity would always rise, and the stars would know their courage. The galaxy was no longer quiet. Humanity had awakened, and the fire of their spirit would light the way through the darkest of times. Peace had been reclaimed, but vigilance and courage would guide the future. The Alliance had returned, stronger than ever, ready to face the challenges of the universe with unwavering strength. And so, under the twin moons of Terran 4, the human and Varan alliance began a new chapter. Their hearts and spirits bound together, their courage blazing across the cosmos, and their story of hope shining for all to see.